Olivia Warren stood in the opulent office of Dawson Enterprises, her heart pounding against her ribs as she clutched the envelope containing every penny she'd managed to scrape together over the past 3 months. At 36, she'd never been what society considered conventionally beautiful. She was a plus-size woman who'd spent most of her life apologizing for taking up space, for being visible, for daring to exist in a world that preferred women to be small and unobtrusive. But today, she stood as tall as her 5'6" frame allowed, wearing her best dress in soft purple and cream, determined to face the man who held her late father's debts. Theodore Dawson was everything she'd expected from the reputation that preceded him: imposing, handsome in that sharp-edged way of powerful men, probably in his early 40s, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to assess and calculate in seconds. He stood behind his massive desk in a perfectly tailored suit, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Miss Warren," he said, his voice formal and controlled. "I've been expecting you." "Mr. Dawson." Olivia stepped forward, placing the envelope on his desk with hands that trembled slightly. "My father owed you $200,000 when he died 6 months ago. I've brought $50,000 as the first payment. I have a plan to pay the rest over the next 2 years. I work as a librarian, and I've taken a second job at a bookstore. I can make monthly payments of—" "Stop." Theodore held up his hand, and Olivia's voice died. He picked up the envelope, weighing it in his hand without opening it. "Your father was a gambler who made increasingly poor choices. The debt he owed me was from a business loan that he used to chase bigger losses. I'm well aware of your financial situation, Miss Warren. $50,000 represents everything you have, doesn't it?" Olivia lifted her chin. "Yes, but I won't let his debts ruin my life forever. I'm prepared to pay what he owed. And if I told you that you don't have to?" Theodore set the envelope back down, unopened. "Your father's debt dies with him. You have no legal obligation to me. I have a moral obligation. He was my father. His debts are my responsibility now. Even though he spent his life disappointing you, even though he chose gambling over being a decent parent, even though he left you with nothing but problems." Theodore's voice was surprisingly gentle. "I did my research, Miss Warren. I know your father wasn't kind to you. I know he criticized your weight, your choices, your existence. Why would you sacrifice everything to pay his debts?" Olivia felt tears threaten but refused to let them fall. "Because I'm not him. Because I pay my debts and keep my word. Because that's who I choose to be, regardless of who he was." Theodore studied her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. "I see. Then I have a counteroffer. You owe me nothing but dinner together. One evening. Just you and me, sharing a meal and honest conversation. Do that and I'll consider your father's debt fully paid." Olivia stared at him, certain she'd misheard. "You want me to have dinner with you in exchange for $200,000? "Yes. Why?" "This doesn't make any sense. No one trades that much money for a single dinner." Theodore moved around his desk, leaning against it in a posture that was somehow less intimidating than his previous stance. "Because I'm lonely, Miss Warren. Because I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes and absolutely no one to share it with. Because I sit in expensive restaurants eating alone while couples and families laugh around me. Because your father told me once during one of our meetings that his daughter was the only person who'd ever stood by him despite how badly he treated her. He didn't deserve your loyalty, but it fascinated me. I wanted to meet the woman who possessed that kind of character. So this is charity? Pity for the fat girl who—" "This is loneliness recognizing loneliness," Theodore interrupted firmly. "Do you know what people see when they look at me? Money, power, opportunity. No one sees the person. No one wants dinner with Theodore the man, only Theodore the CEO. You walked in here prepared to sacrifice everything to honor a debt you didn't owe to a man who didn't deserve it. That tells me more about your character than any background check could. I'd like to have dinner with that person. Just once. Is that really so hard to believe?" Olivia looked at this powerful man who was somehow asking rather than demanding, offering rather than taking. She thought about his words, about loneliness recognizing loneliness, and felt something resonate deep in her chest. "One dinner? That's all?" "One dinner. My only condition is that it's honest. No performance, no trying to impress me, just 2 people sharing a meal and real conversation. Can you do that?" I don't know how to be anything but honest, Olivia admitted. It's gotten me in trouble more times than I can count. Theodore smiled, and it transformed his severe face into something warm and approachable. Perfect. Then we have an agreement. Tomorrow night at 7, I'll send a car for you. I can take the bus. Olivia. He used her first name for the first time, making it sound almost intimate. Let me send a car. Let me do this one small thing, please. She nodded, still trying to process what had just happened. She'd come prepared for negotiation, for hardship, for years of struggling to pay off an impossible debt. Instead, this stranger had offered her freedom in exchange for something she'd never expected. Her company. The next evening, a town car arrived at her modest apartment exactly at 6:30. Olivia had spent an hour trying to find something appropriate to wear, settling finally on a flowing dress that made her feel both nervous and oddly beautiful. The driver was professional and kind, and when they arrived at an intimate restaurant she'd only read about in magazines, Theodore was waiting at the entrance. He'd traded his business suit for dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, looking somehow more human and approachable. When he saw her, his face lit with genuine pleasure. "You look beautiful," he said simply, offering his arm. "You don't have to say that. This is honest dinner, remember?" "I am being honest. You look beautiful because you look like yourself, comfortable in your own skin, not trying to be someone else. That's rare and valuable." He guided her inside to a private corner table. "I hope you don't mind, but I asked for somewhere quiet. I find I do my best conversing away from crowds." The dinner that followed was unlike anything Olivia had experienced. Theodore asked thoughtful questions and actually listened to her answers. He wanted to know about her work at the library, her love of books, her dreams of maybe writing one someday. He shared stories about building his company from nothing, about the loneliness of success, about losing his parents young and having no family left. "Everyone wants something from me," Theodore admitted over dessert. "Business deals, investments, donations, connections. I can't remember the last time someone just wanted my company for its own sake." "I do know that feeling," Olivia said quietly. Not the wealthy part, obviously, but the part where people see what they want to see rather than who you actually are. People see my body and make assumptions about my character, my worth, my capabilities. They've decided who I am before I say a word. What do they miss? That I'm smart, that I'm funny, that I have opinions and dreams and a full, complex inner life that has nothing to do with my dress size. Olivia met his eyes. That I'm worthy of being seen as a whole person, not just a body to be judged. Theodore reached across the table and took her hand gently. "I see you, Olivia. The woman who honored a debt she didn't owe. The woman who works 2 jobs and still finds joy in books and stories. The woman who's brave enough to be honest when honesty is hard. I see all of that, and I find it remarkable." Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. "Why are you being so kind to me?" "Because kindness costs nothing and means everything. Because I recognize something in you that I've been missing in my own life. Authenticity. Because this dinner, which was supposed to be payment for your father's debt, has become the most genuine evening I've had in years." He squeezed her hand gently. "Would you consider having dinner with me again? Not as payment for anything, but because you'd like to. I promise to keep being honest and never try to be anything but who I actually am." "What do you actually are?" Olivia asked, curious, lonely, tired of performing success, hungry for real connection with someone who sees past the money to the person, hoping that maybe I've found that in you, if you're willing to give me a chance. They had dinner again the following week, and the week after that, and soon Tuesday evenings became their standing tradition. Theodore introduced Olivia to restaurants she'd never dared enter, and Olivia introduced Theodore to her favorite bookstore, to quiet cafes where they could talk for hours, to the simple joy of feeding ducks in the park. His colleagues were scandalized. The CEO of Dawson Enterprises dating a plus-size librarian. It was gossip fodder for weeks. Theodore shut down every comment with cold precision. Olivia is remarkable, intelligent, and genuine. If you can't see that, the failure is yours, not hers. And if I hear one more word questioning my choices, you'll be updating your resume. Olivia's own friends were worried. "He's a billionaire. You're setting yourself up to get hurt. Men like that don't end up with women like us." But Theodore kept showing up. He attended her library's fundraiser gala and donated anonymously afterward. He helped her move to a better apartment and refused to let her pay him back, saying it was an investment in his own happiness since she was now closer to his place. He met her friends and won them over with genuine interest in their lives. He held her hand in public, kissed her in front of business associates, and made it clear to everyone that she was valued and cherished. 6 months after that first dinner, Theodore took her back to the same restaurant where they'd met. "I need to be honest with you about something," he said over dessert, looking nervous for the first time since she'd known him. Olivia felt her heart sink. Here it was, the moment her friends had warned about. "Okay. That first night when you came to my office with the envelope of money, I'd already decided to forgive your father's debt. The loan was essentially uncollectible, and I had no interest in making your life harder for his mistakes. But then you stood there with such dignity and determination, offering everything you had, and I saw something extraordinary. I saw someone with more character and strength than anyone I'd ever met. I wanted to know you. So the dinner was a trick? The dinner was an excuse. A way to spend time with you when I had no other reason you'd accept. I told myself it was just curiosity, just an evening with an interesting person. I didn't expect to fall in love." Theodore pulled a small box from his pocket, and Olivia's breath caught. "I'm in love with you, Olivia Warren, with your honesty and strength and kind heart, with the way you laugh at my terrible jokes and call me out when I'm being too serious, with every single part of who you are. Will you marry me?" Olivia looked at this powerful man who'd seen her when the world preferred she stay invisible, who'd valued her character over her appearance, who'd given her freedom when he could have demanded payment. "I came to pay a debt I didn't actually owe. You gave me freedom I didn't expect. But what you've really given me is something far more precious. You've taught me that I'm worthy of being loved exactly as I am." "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." Olivia laughed through happy tears as Theodore slipped the ring on her finger. "But I have one condition." "Anything. We keep having Tuesday dinners. Just us being honest, remembering what brought us together. No matter how busy life gets, no matter what else demands our attention. We keep choosing each other." "Deal," Theodore said, pulling her close. The easiest agreement I've ever made. Their wedding was intimate and meaningful, filled with people who loved them for who they actually were, rather than what they represented. Olivia's friends finally understood that Theodore's love was real and deep. Theodore's colleagues learned that dismissing someone based on appearance meant missing out on knowing extraordinary people. At the reception, Theodore gave a toast that made everyone cry. "I was the loneliest wealthy man you'd ever meet. I had everything and nothing." Then Olivia walked into my office prepared to sacrifice everything to honor a debt that wasn't hers. She taught me that character matters more than appearance, that authenticity is more valuable than wealth, and that love finds us when we're brave enough to be genuinely ourselves. She came to pay a debt, but what she actually did was save me from a life without meaning. I will spend every remaining day proving worthy of the gift she's given me, herself exactly as she is, which is absolutely perfect. The big girl who'd come to pay her father's debt had found something far more valuable than freedom from financial obligation. She'd found a man who saw her completely, loved her genuinely, and chose her daily. And the lonely CEO who'd thought money could buy anything had discovered that the most precious things in life can't be purchased. Authenticity, connection, and love that values character over appearance. Sometimes the debts we think we owe open doors to blessings we never imagined. Sometimes loneliness recognizes loneliness and becomes the foundation for genuine connection. And sometimes, when we're brave enough to be honestly ourselves, we discover that we're worthy of being loved not despite who we are, but because of it. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below about someone who saw your true worth when others didn't. Your stories inspire us all.